Hello and welcome back to the channel. On today's tutorial, I'm going to be sharing with you how to cut a simple Basque corset top. So if this is something you like, please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up. So let's dive right into today's video. So here is my pattern all marked out. I've marked the shoulder to bust, shoulder to under bust, shoulder to waist, and I marked about 6 inches for the basque. So the next thing you're going to mark is your shoulder divided by 2. So for this has a sleeve. I'll use my shoulder divided by 2 plus half. Then I'll go ahead and go down by 1 inch and I will connect it upward. So it doesn't really matter because there's no neckline. So the next step is to find your chest line, which is your bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches. Mine is 7 inches and I'll go ahead to rule a line at that point. Whatever I have from that bust to the chest line, I will remeasure it. This is just to have a straight line for my chest line. And I'll go ahead to place my ruler and I'm going to connect all the way from the other side to the end. After I'm done cutting this, next is to mark your bust circumference divided by 4. So my bust is 33 divided by 4. I have 8.3 and I'll divide my armhole into 2. Come out by ½ inch, and after that I'll place my French curve, connect from my bust circumference to the half and down to my shoulder. The next step is to mark your nipple to nipple divided by 2. My nipple to nipple is 7 inches divided by 2. I have 3.5 inches. So I'm going to mark 3.5 inches all the way down to the lower part of my pattern. After marking that, I'm going to go ahead to place my ruler and I'm going to go ahead to connect the line, forming a straight line. So your nipple to nipple can vary. Yours can be 4 inches, that is 8 divided by 2, 4, or yours can be 9. So from there, I'll go up by 1.5 inches. That is where I want my cup to start. If you don't want to review your cleavage, go ahead and use 2 inches or more. So after that, I'm just going to connect at that point. So this is what I have, and I'm going to go ahead to mark a dart intake of 1 inch on both sides, and I'll also repeat that at my under bust, my waist, and my top length. So if you're on a plus size, go ahead to use 1.5 inches and mark out your dart. So after I'm done marking at that, the next thing is just to go ahead to use my ruler and I will connect from one point to the other point of my dart lines. After I'm done connecting, this is what I have, and I'll go ahead to place my French curve at this point and I'll connect from my under bust down to my bust, or from my bust down to my under bust this way. And next, I'm going to use my marker to outline this to make it more visible. Now, after outlining, I'm going to go ahead to place my French curve this way, connect from the upper part down to the bust. And I'll also repeat this at the other side of my cup and I will connect. After I'm done connecting, this is what I have, and I will use my marker to outline it to make it more visible. So after I'm done doing this, the next step is just to go ahead to insert all my measurements. At the bust, I'm going to mark my bust circumference divided by 4. My bust is 33 divided by 4. Measure the dart intake and I'll replace it, and I'll be adding my sewing allowance. Now, at the under bust, I'm going to mark my under bust circumference divided by 4, measure the dart intake, replace it, and add my sewing allowance. My under bust is 28 inches. My waist is also 28 inches divided by 4. I'll mark, measure my dart intake, replace, and add my sewing allowance. At the top length, I'm going to go ahead to mark my hip circumference divided by 4, measure the dart intake of 2 inches, replace, and add the sewing allowance. After I'm done doing that, I'm just going to go ahead to use my French curve or my curved ruler, and I'm going to connect all the lines, starting from the bust to the under bust and from the under bust to the waist, from the waist down to the top length. So for this part, we'll be altering it to get the Basque waistline for this corset, or the Basque style we have at the lower part. So I'll just go ahead and use my marker to outline this to make it more visible for you to see. From there, I'm going to go in by ½ inch. I'll come down by ½ inch from my chest line, And from my chest line, I'm going to go in by 1/2 inch. I'll go ahead to place my French curve. After placing it, I'm just going to go ahead to connect all the way. So at this point, I'll use a freehand sketch to do that. And from this side, I'm going to connect it all the way down to my chest line this way. After connecting, I'm just going to go ahead to use my marker to outline my pattern to make it more visible for you to see. Going over to the other side, what I have from my shoulder to my bust circumference, I will divide it by 2, place my French curve, and I'm going to go ahead to connect all the way down. I'll go ahead to connect the upper part of my cup this way, and I'll go ahead to label my cup. After I'm done labeling it, we're going to go ahead to alter the lower part of this pattern. So to do that, I'm going to come down by 1 inch from my waistline, and I will take my waist circumference. Then I'll go ahead to blend in my dart this way, because you want whatever you have at that point to meet when you're joining it up. So I will just go ahead and connect it this way and down to the lower part. So after I'm done connecting, I'm going to use my marker to outline it to make it more visible for you to see. After that, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to cut out my pattern. So if you haven't yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, please hit on the subscribe button. Don't also forget to follow us on our main YouTube channel, which is Marky's Closet. There we do both drafting and sewing tutorials. After I'm done cutting out, this is what I have, and the next step is just to go ahead to use my front pattern to cut out the back pattern, which I'll be merging this up, and I'll place another pattern paper on it and I will place it. After I'm done placing it, I'm just going to go ahead to pin my pattern and I'll trace it out. So please make sure you mark out your zipper allowance in front of your dress if you're making use of a zip. But if you're using a lacing bag, go ahead to do that also. So now I'm just going to go ahead to lift my pattern up, starting from the front pattern, that place that I went down by 1 inch, and I will follow that line down and then trace the sides. After tracing out the sides, the next step I'm going to take from here is just to go ahead to cut out my pattern. Anything at all where you talk, I go do. Me, I know they see another girl for my visuals. After cutting out my back pattern, this is what I have, and the next is to get rid of bulginess. Mark 1/2 inch and extend it all the way up and cut it out. So next we'll be moving down to the sleeve of this dress. So for the sleeve, we are going to go ahead to use a straight pattern and go ahead to mark 1/2 inch on top. That is for your joining allowance at the top of your sleeve. And whatever you're adding to this sleeve, make sure it's longer than your normal basic sleeve. After marking your starting point, the next point is your shoulder to elbow point. So you want to mark that, and you're going to mark where your sleeve is going to stop. And after that, you'll be adding a little excess at the lower part, because the sleeve is actually longer than a normal basic sleeve, so it's actually going to cover your hand a bit. So, and at the upper part, you'll be also adding your folding allowance to add elastic at the upper part of this sleeve. So for this sleeve, you're going to use a slash and spread method. So for the measurement, I used my bicep circumference. So mine is 16 divided by 2, or your round armhole. Mine is 16 divided by 2. I have 8, and I added 1 inch or 1.5 to it. So you're just going to take that measurement all the way down, and you're going to mark a straight line. So just like I said, we are using the slash and spread method for this. So I'll go ahead and mark about 3 inches at this point. We're trying to create our armhole for this part of the dress. So after marking that, my armhole circumference is 7 inches. That is your bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5. Mine is 7, so that 7 inches I will divide it by 2, and I'll start marking it from that 1/2 inch I came down from, and I will mark it and connect. So this is just to create the armhole part of this dress for the front part. And what I'm going to do next is just to slash this into different parts. And first I'll just go ahead to cut out this armhole area. You can decide to make your armhole not so deep. So after that, I'm just going to divide my pattern into 5 equal parts, and I'm just going to draw a straight line all the way down. I'm happy that say everything I do is for my woman. Anything I talk where you talk, I go do. Me, I know they see another girl for my visuals. Loving you, now in my ritual. So after I'm done sharing it into 5 equal parts, I'll label it, and then I'll go ahead to cut out this sleeve. So just like I said, we are making use of the slash and spread method. You're going to spread this on your fabric, the material meant for the sleeve, and you're going to pin it and take about 2 to 4 inches depending on how big you want your sleeve, and you're going to spread and cut out. So remember to also add your elastic to your elbow point and the lower part of your sleeve. So with this, we have come to the end of today's tutorial. Please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button. Join us in our next video. Thanks.